You and welcome. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate World Ocean Day and the launch of the children's comic book, Ocean and Human Rights. My name is Mariel Velázquez, and I'm very pleased to welcome you on behalf of the Environmental and Climate Justice Laboratory, LabJAC, as we call it, at Universidad Iberoamericana here in Mexico City. We are especially grateful to our panelists joining us today, Isabelle St, Director of Espace pour la Vie, our partners that have developed this beautiful comic book. Thank you, Isabelle, for your presence and your team's work for this project. Astrid Puentes Riaño, our dear LabJAC Director and United Nations Special Rapporteur on the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Thank you, Astrid, for being here. And Greer, consultant from the Healthy Environments and Healthy Children's Program at UNICEF. Thank you, Lynn, for your presence. So today we will hear about the creative process behind the comic, the importance of environmental education and storytelling, the connection between ocean, health, and human rights, and the role that children and young people can play in building a more sustainable future. So the agenda for today's event will be to listen to each one of our panelists for up to 12, 15-minute stops. And during that time, we will also be taking comments and questions on the chat and social media for a closing round of Q&As. As I was telling previously, we will be recording today's session so that key messages can be shared more broadly in the coming weeks. And our hope is to make that these ideas discussed here will continue reaching policymakers, educators, your youth organizations, communities, and families. So we encourage everyone joining us to help spread the word about the comic book and to share it with your own networks. So thank you for being here with us today. And to begin our conversation, I am pleased to invite Isabelle St, the Director of Espace pour la Vie, with two key questions, Isabelle, for you. Can you share with us the story behind the creation of the comic book? And secondly, what do you think the role of education, storytelling, and access to information play in advancing environmental awareness? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. I will share my my presentation, and you can tell me if you see it well. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So I don't see you, so please stop me if you have any question. So this is the cover of the new comic book that we actually produce with Astrid Puentes Riaño and the UN and many partners that I will talk about it later. And we are very happy to present you this comic book today because it's a special day today. And just before I'm starting to talk about the comic books, I would like to present you Space for Life. Space for Life, it's a 5 institution. There are a museum in Montreal. You have the Biodome, which is present ecosystem of North America inside the institution, insectarium, botanical garden, planetarium, and the Biosphere, which I'm the director. And we mostly focus on social environmental issue and socio transition, and that's why we were involved in this wonderful project. We are the largest natural science museum complex, and we're doing a lot of environmental education because we are happy to reach about 5 million people. And for us, environmental education started with dialogue, started with emotion, with science fact, because we are a science museum, and we have this mission of engaging people for protection of biodiversity and environment. So working with UN was for us it's a must in our journey. Today it's the World Ocean Day. You know, it's an important day because it's all international. It was organized by the UN in 2008, and it promotes the importance of the ocean for the biodiversity, but as well as for justice and human rights. So it's very important to be part of this day every year, and it's even more important for Canada because we are surrounded by 3 oceans in the Pacific, Atlantic, and the Arctic. So the ocean is part of our culture here in Canada. So we're very happy to launch the comic book project, The Ocean and Human Rights. And what happened is last year, Senora Puentes Riaño went to Montreal to meet with other different group, and she visited the Biosphere. And we're amazed by the report for the ocean, and we said we need to put all this knowledge and to make it we have to distribute it all over the web and in the hand of the children, because they are the protector of the environment of tomorrow. And so we decided to do this project together, and the comic book was the first thing we thought, because it's very accessible for young people, aged 10 and over. It's a way of putting a lot of information, complex information, with the drawing. So the mix of art and science is always very welcome in this kind of presentation of a lot of knowledge. And so we worked on that for about a year, and we had the chance to share, to have a contribution with the LabJAC as well, to be able to have the good wording for the young people. And this comic book now is available online today in 4 languages. In French, as you see in the picture, this is one of the picture of the comic book that is very, very beautiful, and it's actually Astrid who's doing some scuba diving for the moment in the picture. And it's available in English, French, Portuguese, and Spanish. And in Quebec, Montreal, the comic book will be distributed all the libraries in the city of Montreal. So I invite all of you that are listening this panel to do the same. We'll be able to, you can make copy and distribute it in the libraries in your cities. And we did as well media relations. So we had a lot of couple of articles in the newspaper today. So we're very happy about this. What I want to mention as well is the city of Montreal is very happy as well as this collaboration with the UN, because you have demonstrating their commitment to the UN goals, and this commitment for the education of the public. We think that a public that is better and educate, like they will take better decision to protect the environment in general. What we use a lot of in Canada in the Biosphere, we use a lot the storytelling, and the storytelling we use this storytelling because we have a science museum, and we know that now the science facts are not enough to create emotion and to bring people to be engaged. They just kind of lost in the information. So storytelling are used in all our exhibition activities, but as well as comic books. We produce that. We produce as well podcasts. It's very important, and web series as well, which is very useful because we can share it online. We have actual books, like I want to show you the books. It's here. So I want to show you as well the books. So it's very important to have both material, like very concrete material, and online material. We saw in the last year that the storytelling are much better I would say, tool to bring engagement for the people, because they feel they're part of the story. They feel they're part of they're part of this problem, of course, but they're mostly part of the solution. And this is very interesting to tell stories, because we remember stories, we're part of it, and its emotion gets in, and it's emotion that change our engagement for the environment. We I think as well that storytelling, it humanize abstract issues. When we talk about, I don't know, the loss of biodiversity, it's a kind of big concept, abstract. Climate change impact, it's very abstract. So story gets into the day-to-day life of the young people, and they can relate on this, and they see as well that the world is not lost. There's still time to do it, and they can be part of they can do something. So we notice here in our museum that when you use storytelling to do environmental education, that the young people have less eco-anxiety. So we see this link. So it's very important I think it's a good, there's many way of doing environmental education, but this is a nice way to decrease eco-anxiety. We notice that when the kids starting to get involved we raise awareness at young age. They develop values, empathy, they have much more a sense of observation, they know about nature, and we know that we protect what we like. So they learn to like and to love nature and to protect it. So that's why we encourage everybody continue the environmental education, even if in the world we see that we have the feeling that it's going down. It's not. We need to keep going, and this new generation will be able to do much more than we did in those years. And we know that there's some survey notice as well that when you're more educated in the environment, you're doing much more. There's a link with your political choice that you're making. So you will mostly voting for regulation that protects the environment if you're not educated. So there's this relation. What I want to share you as well is we, as museum, are very, very committed to the water. This is a exhibition on watersheds. So we teach the young people how does it work, a watershed, and who is part of this ecosystem. So it brings, it's the first start of being interested in what's going on with the water and the ocean. I will stop here saying that there's Jean-Michel Cousteau, is the son of a Cousteau that you might know, that protect the ocean is to protect yourself. Just remind us there's only one ocean. And if we save the ocean, if we keep it clean, right, we're going to be in better life. We will be much more better at mental health as well, and physical health. And we also going to keep a lot of cultures that grow with the ocean. So I just want to finish in saying thank you for this wonderful project. Thank you for Astrid. I'm very happy that we met, our path crossed, and this is all the at the end I'll just show you all the collaboration we make, and to say that this kind of international collaboration has a lot of impact in education. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Isabelle, for your kind presentation. It is so amazing to hear that you will be distributing the comic book physically into the libraries in the city of Montreal. let me tell you that now that we've heard that, we will start thinking on something, how we can also do it in Mexico City and in other cities as well. It will be so great to have that possibility. And well, thank you so much for your presentation. So now we can give the floor to Astrid Puentes Riaño, who, as I previously said, she is the LabJAC director here at the Ibero University, and she is a United Nations Special Rapporteur on the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Astrid, what does it mean to say that there is only one ocean connecting all humanity, that you have said so many times in your report and in so many other places? And another key messages that you would like to highlight from your report and now from the comic book. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marielle and Isabelle, Lynn, and the people from the laboratories. For me, an honor to be presenting the report today. It's after so many hours of work. So first of all, happy Ocean Day, of course. And it's for me really, I can't even describe how excited I am. As you heard, I am the director of the Laboratory for Climate, Environmental and Climate Justice, the LabJAC at the University Ibero-American University in Mexico. And I'm also the UN Special Rapporteur on the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. And in that, we, as mandate holders, we have to prepare 2 reports a year, one to the General Assembly at the UN in New York, and the other one to the Human Rights Council in Geneva, which was this one that I prepared on the ocean and human rights last year for March. And as you heard, we were in the process, and I had the privilege to visit the Space Perche la Vie last year and see all of these amazing exhibitions. And I remember one specifically about the connection between the ocean and plastic pollution, and this artist that lives in Montreal and is from Philippines, if I'm not remembering wrong. He collected a lot of plastic from the ocean, and out of that, he prepared amazing pieces of art. And while going around and seeing that and seeing the report, that is honestly, very boring black and white, a lot of words, 10,000 words, we said, how can we communicate it better, as you heard from Isabelle? And then this piece of art and education and love and strength happened, the comic. And so for me, it's really amazing to see. As Marielle was saying, and I want to share with you, because that's one of the things that I have learned. A lot of things, of course, that we learn. And one of the things that I learned, and I mean, this is you're seeing now the beautiful also images about the report. We know that the ocean is a single global biome, and this is something that I learned from scientists. It covers 70% of the planet. And while there are many oceans difference that people talk about, the Atlantic or the Pacific or others, the truth is that scientifically speaking, we only have one ocean. And this is, as you can see here, this is a graphic. It's called the Spielhaus Global Projection, where you can see how all the different oceans, which is actually only one, is all connected. The Pacific one, the Indian, the Atlantic, the Arctic. So it's all one single biome corresponding to 70% of the planet that is connected. And that is one of the things that I learned systematically, and I'll stop. I'll share that too, so that it sinks. Scientists systematically told me that we should stop talking about different oceans because it's actually only one. And this was one of the key messages that I wanted to share with the report. But also because it's one single biome is interconnected, and it's unfortunately also interconnecting the drivers of the destruction, that it's linked to the fossil fuel use, and of course the triple planetary crisis with climate change, biodiversity loss, and toxic pollution. There are many aspects that are today impacting the ocean, and this, as Isabelle mentioned, and I love this phrase from Cousteau about protecting the ocean to protect ourselves. There's the lives of billions of people depend either directly or indirectly with the ocean. It doesn't matter if we live by the ocean, like in Montreal, that is beautiful and they have a lot of this interconnection. But even in Mexico City, where we are, we also depend on the ocean because it's connected with the whole hydrological cycles that the planet has. The ocean is this biome that is helping the planet to regulate the winds, the hydrological cycles, of course, the rain, but also food. We are seeing, unfortunately, that now this current, the Atlantic current, is threatened and almost collapsing because of the link with climate change, biodiversity loss, and toxic pollution. And of course, a lot of human rights, not only the right to a healthy environment, but also the right to life, to food, to housing, to work. Cultural rights are linked with the ocean because, of course, increasing of the sea level rise and other impacts. But of course, the key messages is that when we talk about the ocean, we also talk about sustainable food systems, safe climate, healthy ecosystems, but definitely we also talk about ocean defenders. So people in many places where they defend the ocean, and these also can be and are already children and youth that are working in many places to make sure that we are protecting the ocean. There are many challenges that I identified in the report, and we try to communicate in the comic as simple as possible. We, of course, have and this was also another thing that I learned, there are over 600 agreements all over the world around the ocean. And unfortunately, none of them have actually helped to protect the ocean effectively. So we need to think creatively about what other things we need to make sure to put in place. And that is, of course, education and a call to action. I mean, I can imagine, and as Isabelle also mentioned, there's a lot of eco-anxiety, and youth and children can also be suffering that. But we really want to tell them that, of course, there are a lot of problems and there are a lot of solutions. And one of the things that is key there is to make sure that we understand and we learn and we get involved in. These are also the summary of the obligations of the states. But I'll pass it quickly to talk about the recommendations and solutions. A key recommendation from the report that you also will find in the comic is that it's key to protect the fragile marine areas and coastal areas that we still have. Recently, for example, in Mexico, we saw that there was a company that wanted to implement or build a bigger, because there's already a port, but they wanted to have a bigger port for crew and big ships, and that will be impacting this very key area in Mahahual. And the Mexican government decided to stop the licensing process because it was better to protect the area. And we can find these kinds of cases in many places in the world, because it's important that authorities identify and make adequate decisions to protect these fragile marine areas. We also need to make sure that any project is adequately assessed. We have to use the precautionary principles and reduce pollution, reduce the greenhouse gases. And of course, the main reduction has to be with policies and the states and the government and in industry and businesses. But in that, being engaged as citizen is key, and protect also the people that is defending the environment, the ocean, and scientific knowledge. And so in that, knowing and understanding and getting engaged, as I mentioned, is key. So that is one of the key aspects for this comic, to make sure that people and we all understand the importance. And of course, this comic is written and was developed specifically thinking about children between 10, 11, 12-year-olds. But I really invite to everyone to read it, because sometimes it's boring, but also difficult to understand the information that we're having. But the idea with the comic is also to make sure that we, in the very simple matters, understand the content of this and identify from different areas that we have how and what are the things that we can do for the protection of the ocean. The other thing that I want to add here is that one of the huge inspirations that I saw from the Space for La Vie, from the exhibitions, is a lot of science there, how they managed to understand, to explain very difficult science into simple words. And at the same time, I was thinking, and that's one of the things that we talked with Isabelle and her team about, the piece that was missing in terms of the law, because sometimes legal aspects or international law is difficult to understand. So that is also both the contribution that I wanted to do with the report on the ocean and human rights, but also with the comic, so that people understand that human rights are important, that are easy to understand, and that we need to embrace them and use them and practice them and get involved, ask for information, participate in key decision-making processes, if there's need to also access to justice, and call access to justice with a lot of examples that we see in the world. So I want to finish, of course, with a very big thank you to Space for La Vie, also to mention that this was, of course, a collaborative effort, and it was a huge pro bono effort, of course, from their part. We, in the mandate and the laboratory, we do all that we can, but of course resources sometimes are difficult. But I think that the comic itself is a huge example of collaboration, of this pro bono work that was done with the museum that managed to do this amazing. I loved to look at myself in the comic version and diving, which is something that I personally do and really, really enjoy. And also that after we did it in English and French, then from the laboratory, it was translated to Spanish and also with Instituto Alana in Portuguese. And I also want to tell you that I went last week to Thailand, and there's a possibility to do it in other languages, which is something that we love to see, so that it will be used massively everywhere. As of course, the comic is not going to solve the world, but as a motivation and inspiration to learn more, to get engaged, and to get more feedback. So I really, really, really want to thank you all, and also Alexandra Jung for these beautiful drawings. And you, Isabelle, and all your team, also from the laboratory, Marielle, Laura, Joa, Fer, Azul, who helped in all of this process. Because of course, when we talk about the ocean and the protection of our rights and children's rights, we're also talking about present and future generations, all the generations that will be in this planet, that we need to protect the ocean and the rest of the planet as much as possible for them, and all the ones that will be coming. So I really want to thank you all and encourage everyone to download it and to use it. And exactly, we will be coordinating also with aquariums and museums so that they can use it as much as it's possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Astrid. Yes, as you were saying, a lot of things begin with a story, and I think this comic book really goes to that place, a story that can help you understand places you might or might not have seen or been or visited, to connect with people that maybe you have never met, but you can imagine different places, different futures, and that's what we want to help create. So thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to Lynn Greer. She's from the Healthy Environments and Healthy Children program from UNICEF. And Lynn, we wanted to ask you on your children's rights and healthy environments, how to empower young people through environmental education and engagement. Can you tell us a little bit of what you think and how these can engage and link to a comic book that is now out and we're presenting? Thank you, Lynn, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And I'm really glad, Astrid, you talked about how it's one biome and one ocean, right? And I think about the ocean that touched the shores of Vietnam, where I was born, is the same ocean that touches the shores of the US, where I am now. And we really do have to think about it as one unit like that. So I think that's a really great point that you raised. But it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. As Marielle said, my name is Lynn, and I'm representing UNICEF's Healthy Environments for Healthy Children Global program today. And healthy oceans are not just an environmental issue. As you pointed out, Marielle, they are a children's rights issue. And that's really made clear under the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, where it really states that children have the same sort of fundamental civil, political, economic, and social, and most importantly, health rights as every other human. And what we're seeing today is that environmental degradation, like ocean pollution, is undermining those rights simultaneously. And really, in recent years, we've made progress, right? The right to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment has now been formally recognized, and we're so lucky to have Astrid champion that right as a UN Special Rapporteur. And also in the general comment number 26, that's really made very clear the essential need for it for children to fulfill all the other rights for them. And this really does mean that governments have a responsibility to act to prevent harm, to ensure that children are protected at every step of the way, because we know that children are uniquely vulnerable to environmental risk, and their bodies are still developing. They're more exposed because they eat and drink and breathe more relative to their body size than an adult. And the impacts of toxic exposures, in particular in the early stages of life, under 5, in the first 1,000 days, those experiences can last a lifetime. But at the same time, while children are among the most vulnerable, we also know they are very powerful. They are advocates, innovators, and leaders, especially when they're given the right tools, knowledge, and the platform to engage. So that's why environmental education, like these creative tools like the comic book that Isabelle shared, is so important to connect with youth and to connect with the next generation. And it helps translate these complex issues into something really relatable and engaging for them. And so it's a really critical piece of the puzzle as well. And it allows them and provides a bridge for them to be active participants, right? So children have the right to be heard in the decisions that affect them. And that's really made clear in the general comment 26, which is their opinions matter and they should be part of the meaningful discussions. So if we look about and focus on oceans in particular, I'm going to look at one aspect, which is just like the plastic pollution that we see in our oceans, right? And plastic production is projected to increase by 70% by 2040. Every year, around 14 million tons of plastic enter the ocean, according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature. So in perspective, what that means, it's the weight of 5 blue whales entering the ocean every hour. That's an astronomical amount of plastic entering the ocean. And if current trends continue by 2050, within our generation and the next generation and generations to come, that means more plastic by weight will be in the ocean than fish in the ocean. What's even more concerning is what we don't see, which is the microplastics, which are everywhere in our ocean, our food, our water systems, and in our children. We've even found it in studies found in breast milk. One surprising source of microplastics is paint, which counts for about 58% of microplastics entering the waterway, according to the research for environmental action. These particles contain toxic substances like polymers and heavy metal additives like lead, which in and of themselves pose a huge risk to the marine ecosystem, but to human health and child health in particular. So the heart of the issue is systemic challenges we're facing: overproduction, overconsumption, and systems that are not truly circular. So today, only about 21% of plastics are designed to be recyclable, which just shows how far we still have to go as a society. And despite these challenges, there is so much reason for hope, right? And Astrid and Isabelle touched on these reasons for hope, but I wanted to share one particular youth story that has been really inspiring for me. And I've had the privilege to work with many youth at UNICEF, but one in particular stood out, Nina, who's a young advocate from Indonesia, the world's largest island country. I connected her when she was only 17. And she had been working to clean the Brontes River near her home from plastic pollution before it flows into the ocean. And that is a water source for 5 million people, including herself and her schoolmates. And it was becoming outrageous, the amount of pollution that they found. And so she took and started advocating not only to the local community, but all the way up to the 5th session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee to develop an internationally legally binding instrument on plastic in 2024. While that negotiation didn't come out to what we see, she continues to advocate alongside others, including us here in this call, in this conversation. She took the time while joining that conference in Korea to join me and other UNICEF colleagues to launch that Generation Plastic report in 2024, which really highlighted this next generation, right? The generation coming up and the one even after them are really the generation of plastic because of the pollution that we're seeing in our food and water system. And her story is incredible and inspiring. And she's been advocating as young as 13 and 14, and she continues to advocate. And that really shows that young people are not just part of the story, but they're really leading it, especially when they're given these tools like the comic books and other educational materials to help bridge that complex issues into something engaging and powerful. So what do we do now, right? We need coordinated action across all the sectors and really engaging youth, because protecting oceans is not separate from protecting children. It's really part of the same mission, and their meaningful engagement in the discussion is so important.
Thank you so much, Lynn. You have given us like a really nice and sometimes difficult panorama of what's around us and around children, but that's a reality, and we need to really make things moving faster than they are. So lastly, I just want to remind everyone that we have already posted the links to the comic book. They are translated, as we were saying now, into 4 different languages: English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese, and hopefully maybe in some other languages as well. So you can take a look at them. And finally, most for our social media and to promote the comic book, I would like you to think on one phrase or one idea that you would like to say to the people that might be watching right now or eventually in the following weeks, on how would you close, or what idea do you have right now that you would like to leave with? So if it's that okay, I will ask in the same order, Isabelle, then Astrid, and then Lynn. In one sentence, in one idea, what would you like to say, and what would you like to communicate to the people watching? So Isabelle, your turn.
I'm starting. It's a big question. I would share that. I show you again the book. I think it's possible to reach many people, and I think the public is ready to have information about law, what they can do, what's going on with the biodiversity. And now we talk about the ocean, and they're ready to have this information to be part of the solution. And we should be not afraid to spread. My wish is that we spread the comic book all over the world, and that the population is getting together to protect the ocean, because it's a matter of life. I mean, we need to think about the future generation, and we want to live the earth cleaner than it is now. So this tool will help to engage people and to understand what is their power, because we didn't, Lynn and Astrid talk about more the power of we have power as an individual. We have much more power when we are a collectivity, and we have much more power when we understand law and our rights, and it is explained in this comic book. So that's what I wish. And I would say, I just want to say before I let my voice to somebody else, that I want to thank my colleague from the communication team, because they were the actors like Isabelle, Matt, and Sidi and Amélie Luong. They were the one that worked very hard. So this project is happening. So thank you so much, and thank you to all of you as well.
Thank you, Astrid.
Thank you. And maybe more than a phrase, Judith posted a very key comment in the chat. So I want to address that too, maybe first. And it's the challenge, or maybe the issue, that when we talk about children's rights is temporal rights. So, I mean, I think that that's a great question. And I don't think that I've ever read it in that way. Which is of course great, because children are children for a specific amount of time. But I wanted to link to the fact that the right to a healthy environment is a human right, that has been recognized by the vast majority of states all around the world. The UN has recognized that right, and also now the International Court of Justice. And the importance of incorporating also children's rights is because, unfortunately, as we also heard from Lynn, and as I have seen also a lot, is that while the protection of the environment and ocean is absolutely key for children because of course, today, but their future, they're not included as much in decision-making processes today. A lot of jurisdictions require being 18 years old or older to participate in spaces, to vote, of course. And so that is only one of the examples of the importance of talking also about children's rights. Lynn also mentioned this example of this champion from Indonesia that is now working on plastic pollution. And we saw a lot of children also working for the protection of the environment, the ocean, plastic, climate change, because unfortunately today we're not seeing the solutions that we need. So it's both important to incorporate their voices because it's their right, but also something that now legally is an obligation is to consider when there's projects or activities, the impact today, but also long-term impacts and the comprehensive evaluations of that. So that is also key, and the importance of advancing the solutions as quick and as urgent as we need. So with that, thinking about a sentence, I think that, or a phrase, this comic to me is a good example of the importance of collaborating and working together, because something that was impossible at the beginning because we didn't have the funding or in the space, Vie didn't have the legal expertise, then we collaborated together to make this happen. And it's, again, a tool to get people to understand better, but to also be engaged. It is sometimes scary to identify what to do. And I think that it's very important that we all do something. And this is a good example that then it can be political action or litigation or asking for information or going to multilateral negotiations or participating in Canada or participating in different places. I think that that's key. We recently saw from Canada also that there were some bills to diminish some environmental protection, and it was stopped because people was engaged. And so I think that this is one of the examples of doing that. So I really want to highlight the importance of collaborating and coordinating for the protection of the ocean, because that the huge thing that we can do small things that then become large, very potent and strong initiatives.
Thank you so much, Astrid. And if I may say, I was also as a part of the coordinating team. It was a great pleasure. At the very beginning, it seemed like a huge project, really hard to really to establish, and we talked about many ideas and languages and how to make the most out of it. And after a year and a half, as Isabelle was saying, that's true. We started in January 2025 when Astrid was in Montreal. So after a year and a half, well, this is a reality, and it's great to see it like being launched and born. Finally, Lynn, what would you say, your last reflections and comments, please?
Thank you. It's hard to follow. Both Isabelle and Astrid raised really good points. I think I will leave with one takeaway, which is children's perspectives and their participation are not optional. They are essential. We have seen it time and time again, and I feel very privileged working with UNICEF, where I have seen such inspirational youth. And we tried to invite a youth who wasn't able to join last minute on this webinar, but he was working on ways to remove microplastics from waters and oceans. And they are really this next generation in terms of the innovation, their ideas. To Astrid's point, we don't have solutions yet, right? And we have tried and pushed for change over and over again. And so we've been hitting a brick wall in so many ways. But if we can find solutions that work for everyone, as the saying goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. And if we can focus on the most vulnerable of the population, such as children, we can create a better world for all of us. So I would say really children's participation is essential.
Thank you so much. Well, we thank everybody who's been watching live this webinar. And we will continue to disseminate as broad and long as possible. And now I think we will be ending the live broadcast. My colleague is going to help us. Thank you again for watching live.